Time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Hello, hello.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Steve Ponzielman and Mystery Mark, Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks everybody for tuning in. It's a busy day.
It is.
Busy day in sports.
Up 1-0 as we broadcast live.
Yeah, feel free to put the hockey updates in
Except
the chat
for
room there, folks.
Power play that's happening right now.
You know, you didn't have to really mention that part.
Dig it in.
Yeah, go ahead and disclaim something. Disclaim disclaim the whole show.
So soon?
So soon. Get it over with.
The views, opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and or bored, we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem.
And we wish you luck with that. A lot to get to. It's a busy week in sports. The first thing I posted for the show was I am Tiger Woods. I will explain that. I won't go into great deal.
I don't think Jill's going to like that very much.
Like what?
If you're Tiger Woods.
I
think she's going to have a problem with that.
We'll talk a little bit about preparation. And we'll later in the show, I'll pose a couple of questions to you. We'll also preview the World Cup of Darts. It's going to start tomorrow. It'll be online for you PDC subscribers.
Mm.
If you're not a PDC subscriber, you're going to have to root around on the internet for it. You feel free to post a link on the Dart Talk Facebook page if you want. You can always reach the show, by the way. Just email darttalk@gmail.com. I almost had time to compile some of the funniest emails we had.
Oh, you did? You said you were going to try.
Yeah, I mean, I got kind of hung up. We bought a new grill.
Right.
Like a new gas grill. So that was like this whole deal. Well, if it wasn't for love of my life, we wouldn't have a show tonight. I'll tell you that.
8-foot by 4-foot garden just looking beautiful.
I didn't do much. I have one plant, and it's hanging in there. I have a coffee plant. I have. What's the opposite
Does it actually hang? Or is it
no, it's in a pot.
Okay.
What's the opposite of a green thumb is what my thumbs are. What do you want to start with? I was going to ask you because, you know, we come at the sport from, you know, sometimes two different directions. And I had kind of an interesting Saturday. So I was going to ask you, in your mind, what's a bar shooter? If I say, oh, so and so is a bar shooter, what do you take that to mean?
Well, I guess I would say somebody that enjoys playing darts while they're hanging out, drinking some beers, and it's something to do while you're at the bar.
Well, you know,
because you're not talking about a league or anything. You're just talking about a bar. You know, they purposely go to a specific bar that they know have darts, have a dartboard, and they're going to play while they're out. They're going out, and hey, let's go throw some darts while we're doing it.
I know I've mentioned this on the show.
Do you disagree with that?
Well, kind of. I mean, I have a different take on it, obviously. The only time I went to a tournament in Charlotte must have been, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years ago. And I can't remember why I went there. I think it was in Charlotte. I'm pretty sure it was. So on Friday, you go down and you play the pro singles. So, you check into the hotel room and you unpack and figure out, who's, sleeping where? You know, you got roommates and stuff like that. So I was walking down to the dart hall, and they had, like, as you walk in on the side, there was a table and, like, some tournament people, tournament officials or what have you. And there's some guy, kind of a, well-dressed, almost like a yuppie-looking kind of guy. And he's really complaining. And, I didn't catch the whole thing. So, I'm walking by, and I hear the guy saying, look, you got to do something about the lights. It's too bright in there. That made me stop.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, I play in a bar, and the bar is dark. So when I come to a tournament, it should be dark.
Well, yeah, I never would have even thought about that.
I'm pretty sure he's a bar shooter.
I never would have thought about that.
Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, I've heard the term, kind of, thrown around, and I don't think if you
the problem
Google
is
it, you'll get
almost
like
everybody plays in a bar to start before they go to tournaments. So,
well, right now
you have to adjust.
I mean, there's,
they also have blaring music at 100 decibels in a bar, and not in a
few other
tournament.
distractions too. Sure. The smell of popcorn at one place I can think of. It's like all of a sudden it's overpowering. Look, I consider myself a tournament player because that's kind of what the focus of my game is. I kind of, the league darts, there's a lot of bar shooters in the league because they don't want to go to a tournament, right? They don't want to travel and go play all these good guys from somewhere else. They just like, hanging out with their friends, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I was struck by how uncomfortable some people are in one venue versus another. And I have a feeling if you took a bunch of PDC guys and you put them in some of the venues in Chicago, they wouldn't be averaging 115, right? They'd be yelling at people and averaging maybe 90.
Well, maybe.
Sure. When you're on the winning double and somebody walks in front
Right
of you and says,
door.
"Hey, man, you playing darts?
Yeah.
Is that wow? Can I try?"
They kick your back foot as they're walking to the bathroom because there's only about 5 feet between the bar and your feet.
Right, or the board, the wires are hanging off the board, or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense that kind of goes on. It just struck me though that and there's a reason I'm going to get to this, but it struck me that rather than kind of like this debate about, this never-ending debate, are you a professional? Are you not a professional? It's like, are you a bar shooter? Or are you a tournament player? Mm-hmm. Because, like NAPTA put out there, I got a problem with NAPTA's seating, so we'll get to that too.
I just think that's an odd way of putting it. Hey, I'm a bar shooter. You got to turn the lights down in a tournament.
Well, he didn't say he was a bar shooter. He just said that, well, I'm used to playing in a bar, so why on earth would you not replicate the conditions of my local bar? Should we break up some peanut shells, put them on the floor?
Right.
And I don't know, disco lights? I mean, I don't know where you play. I mean, I just found that
why
mentality.
Did he think it was going to be exactly the same?
Well, I don't know. I didn't ask. I didn't go up to him and say, I wasn't even doing the show back then.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I found it to be like, I never forgot this comment, and I think it's representative of a lot of people. I think a lot of people like to play, but they want to play under certain conditions, and I can't equate it to anything else, right? I mean, you've got a home golf course, right? Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it's not like you're going to go to another golf course and say, well, hey, now wait a minute. On my home course, the first hole's an easy par 5. You need to renumber your holes, so I get an easy par 5 to start off, right? You don't do that.
You got to rotate your course a little because the wind usually comes from the southeast instead of the northwest.
But it struck me that, like, I've seen guys, like, show up in a bar for an unorganized event complaining, hey, how come there's no music playing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know. We're here to play darts, not dance,
right?
So, I mean, how do you determine what the conditions are supposed to be and make the tournament players happy versus the bar shooters? Because I guarantee you the bar shooters outnumber the tournament players like, at least 100 to 1. Right?
Yeah, but I think in general, you just, you're trying to make every tournament basically the same.
Well, you're trying to make conditions the same, but how do you do that? How do you make conditions the same if you listen to heavy metal and the other guy listens to classical?
Well, because the tournaments, you don't have music blaring.
Exactly. But so now you're trying to hold a tournament in a bar, What do you get?
Well,
You see what I'm saying?
it's a different type of venue, obviously. Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's. I'm just sort of like, well, this is just too strange for me. Maybe I'm getting old and crotchety. I don't know. You know what I mean? But I was thinking that, like, if you were going to say, well, what's a bar shooter like? A bar shooter is somebody who, like, plays relatively relaxed in his own little where he's used to playing, but doesn't travel well. Right?
Okay.
I think if you're a total bar shooter, you're going to have a hard time taking your game somewhere else. Right?
Sure. I mean, I answered the question a little differently. I'm guessing basically that a bar shooter shoots in the bar and has no aspirations of going anywhere else.
Yeah, well, see, but bar shooters can go somewhere else now. You can play these online tournaments and stuff where it's like in your local bar.
But most likely everybody starts out as a bar shooter.
Well, no. I don't think that it's that way like in Canada and England. I think, they have a board up at home and, dad or uncle or, some kid at school, you start playing at home. You're not playing, and you're talking about young people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're 20, I mean, what did I took up darts at 41, right?
14-year-olds aren't bar shooters, but yeah, I mean, we don't seem to have a lot of 12 to 13 to 15-year-olds that start playing darts.
We don't have like a system, like a youth system.
It's not until you're 21 where you get into the bar and you start, oh, hey, there's a dartboard, let's try it. And then,
I just thought it was interesting. Well, I thought it was interesting because there was some discussion on Facebook about this strange notion of a tournament that I just had to shake my head constantly. And then so many people were weighing in on it. I was like, well, let me run this one by Mystery Mark and see what he thinks. So what are we on time?
I got a couple minutes.
Okay. What do you think of a tournament where the entry fee is $2,000?
I think you're not going to get a lot of people involved. And I'm going to think you're not going to get a lot of experienced darters
You're not
going
to get any bar shooters, for one.
Well, no.
Well, that's fine. I mean, it's just sort of, it struck me, and, we'll get to I'm Tiger Woods, so I'm out of this conversation, but the notion somehow that, the dart players would put up their own $2,000 to play in something, I just find that, like, I can't think of 5 people that would, like, open their wallet, take $2,000 out, stick it on a table, and say, I'm in.
Yeah. No, I couldn't think of that either.
Plenty say they will.
Right.
And it's easy to be brave on Facebook, but, I mean, I just don't really see that happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are the odds? What are what are you playing for? What do how many people?
Well, how much money's added? Because I've always said, if you want the sport to grow, it's got to be more than just playing for the players' money. There's got to be outside money coming in.
Right.
That was the whole notion behind the Players Challenge series. It's like, look, you're playing for other people's money, right? We're not going to have an entry fee. This is all about rewarding whoever plays the best, right? It strikes me as almost like a poker notion.
Yeah.
Like the World Series of Poker. Okay, $10,000 anyone can play and anyone can win because, luck is so prevalent.
Sure.
Right? That's why the pros don't win, right?
But you also have to only get to a certain amount on the field and you get, 5 times your money.
Right. Well, I didn't really think it was, I wasn't really going to talk about this. I just wanted to run it by you. The notion of having like an exclusive tournament with all the best players where they're all putting up $2,000. I'm like thinking, why? Why would you do it that way?
Well, because, I mean, I guess if you're thinking about it, all the best players, or you're talking about all around the country.
Yeah.
All the best players have that kind of money.
Oh, yeah, because darts is so lucrative in America.
Well, I mean, just America? I mean...
Well, Canada, too. Say it's Canada. I mean, Phil Taylor can whip out $2,000.
That's what I'm saying.
Not a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Van Gerwen and all those guys, I mean, they're going to...
Sure.
They would do it for sure.
Well, of course they would.
Yeah. Around here, no way. I don't think that would be enticing to Bob Sneva, Larry Butler, or Darren. You think Darren Young would plop down $2,000 to play against what?
I don't know. I think, and then everybody's coming up with all these strategies. Well, you can have a satellite tournament like they do in poker, right? You get 10 guys that put in $1,000, winner take all. There's your $10,000 and go play the World Series kind of thing. So you could have a satellite to get your $2,000 where, you get, I don't know, 10 people putting in $200.
Mm-hmm.
Winner take all, you get your entry fee. Yeah, do something like that. I mean, I just don't see
I
somebody.
still think that you would have a hard time getting 10 people to do that, even at $200.
It'll be interesting. We'll keep everyone posted on that. It was kind of a last minute, like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, what's going to come next down the hill? But it's kind of ironic, and we'll take a break and we'll come back and we will not only explain why I am Tiger Woods, but we will explain why it's a bad idea to mix apples and oranges because you don't get lemonade or whatever. Whatever you get doesn't taste good.
I'm interested to hear that.
All right, we're listening. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark Steve Ponziano. We'll be back in a minute.
The views and opinions expressed on Dart Talk are those of the hosts. They in no way should be misrepresented, misinterpreted, or made to claim that the universe is against you, your family, your city, or the darting community at large.
Okay, back for the second quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators, Redwood Darts. I'm a little spacey. Apparently, it's a Thai hockey game.
It is.
I'm DVRing it. I'm expecting to be incredibly sad in about an hour and a half. Okay, so I am Tiger Woods.
You are Tiger Woods.
You see what Woods did at the Memorial?
Shot his worst round ever on Saturday. Yeah,
That's the state
then-
of
and
my,
then
that
he
is the
actually-
state of my dart game, man.
But the worst part about it is he had to play alone on Sunday.
Right.
I mean, so obviously the numbers worked out where there's one, there's all the twosomes in one person. It doesn't happen every tournament.
He's the marker.
It doesn't happen every tournament, but it just so happened that this tournament that there's that one odd number out, and he shoots his worst. He's in last place, and he literally they said it was really weird watching Tiger Woods walk up, pull the flag stick, and hand it to his caddy.
I mean, it's just sort of like I played some the not DPNY Chicago NY, well wait, DP Chicago. And best of 9-5-0, start out, throw a 15 darter or 14 darter, whatever it was. I'm like, good, and then proceeded to absolutely play just horrible, just absolutely horrible. Arm
What was
locking
this?
up on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Arm locking up, and I'm like, oh man, I have no stamina. Are you kidding? I'm good for one leg, and I'm
That's
dead.
it. I'm done.
I'm like, I'm Tiger Woods. I can't play anymore.
Oh,
You know,
that's not a good thing.
Well, no, I'll get it back. I mean, I'm not worried about that.
He's a
I mean,
little younger than
I was
you are,
working
too.
it out. I worked it out on Monday. My third round was a ton 80, and I'm like, okay, I got this figured out.
He's mentally tired. Are you mentally tired?
No, I'm just sort of like this long layoff, and then the lack of practice is not helping. It's a bad
Well,
combination.
sure.
So I have to kind of hit it hard coming up. But the apples and oranges bit was NAPTA released their seeds for the upcoming NAPTA event.
Yes, they did.
And I have them here somewhere. You gotta help me understand this.
I'll do my best.
Let me run down
I'll
the
do my
seeds.
best. Right.
And my apologies for the fact that I am still seated. But we'll go 1 through 10 is Bob Seneve, Robin Curry, Larry Butler, Callie West, Leonard Gates, John Part, Darren Young, DJ Sayre, Dan Olson, Mark Fair. That's your top 10. Your second 10, Chris White, Gary Mawson, Ralph McCool, David Fathom, Danny Lobby II, Paco, Gordon Dixon, me, Jason Brandon, Joe Huffman, Terry Hayhurst. That's 10 through 20.
Right.
And then the last 12, or the next 12, Roger Carter, Dan Lobby Sr., Nick Lindberg, Benny Amadei, Mitch Payton, Eric Gregory, Chuck Pankow, Ken McCown, Pat Gallagher, and Ryan Morey. Now, what's wrong with this
What
picture?
is to understand?
What is wrong with this picture?
What is
this?
the
The way they're doing. Well,
how is it compiled?
it's compiled on how much money you win in NAPTA events.
Okay.
The problem that I have with this, and as much as I love the Whisper Twins, which we need a better nickname for them, but as much as I love Robin and Callie, they're being seeded second and fourth based on money they won in women's events, which I didn't get to play in.
True.
So I don't see how you can seed Robin and Callie based on women's events when everyone else played in men's events. And I think everyone would agree the men's events are infinitely harder, right? The field is much deeper. What's the point of seeding?
Of the seeding. So for the next
This is for the next
event,
NAPTA event.
right?
This is what they're going to use to seed it.
Okay.
So that means that Callan and Robbie and Callie are the 2 and 4 seeds. I just find that like astronomically the most misguided thing you could possibly do. I had this argument with Joe last night. The same thing. So obviously there's some mental disconnects that we have to get straightened out for the entire planet, because apparently Rachel Maddow has the same problem as whoever made this list. Okay. Rachel Maddow made some comment, and yes, I watch Rachel Maddow. I think
Only
she's
because you have
really
to.
smart. Well, no, she's really smart. She's some good stuff. I mean, it's, there's an agenda there, but, whatever. What did she say? She said Abby Wambach has scored more World Cup goals than any man or woman in American history.
Okay.
Which is a fact.
Sure.
Except that comparing the women to the men in the World Cup is asinine.
I would agree.
So what significance is that fact when somebody's playing over there and somebody's playing over there? If I said, so-and-so scored more professional basketball points than anyone in history, and he plays for Tel Aviv, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar plays in the NBA, and this guy scored 2 more points, what does that mean? Doesn't mean anything.
Well, that's a reason why they don't transfer your stats from playing in the Japan League.
Why on earth would you
Major
even?
League.
Why would you even say it?
Right. Well, that's why you don't transfer your stats from the Japan League to Major League Baseball, or from the United States Football League to the NFL, or whatever you're playing.
If you went on the air on, like, I don't know, some sports yakking show, and you said Ichiro Suzuki is the best hitter in history because if you add his hits in the Japan
He's
League
got over
and his
4,000.
hits in the majors, he's got more hits than Pete Rose. Well, okay, he does. So what does that mean? It means absolutely
it means he's
nothing.
good.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
In terms of like having any sort of larger, who's the greatest quarterback in history? I don't know. Terry Bradshaw's got 4 Super Bowls. How come no one says he's the best?
Well, but
Archie Manning is the best quarterback in history.
At least in that debate, you're debating all the people that only played in the NFL.
Right. It's you have to differentiate.
Right.
I
do agree with that.
And just spouting out random facts assembled doesn't edify anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just sort of like, and Jill wasn't really. She's like, she didn't have a counter argument, but she wasn't too happy. Because it's true.
Well, because she wants to see the women up there.
Hey, look, if you're going to say Abby Wambach's the greatest goal scorer in U.S. Women's World Cup history, that's a fact.
It's hard to argue that.
How do you compare it to the men?
Yeah.
Tab Ramos would kill her,
right?
If Tab Ramos is on the field, then she doesn't score. So what are you saying? Okay, now getting back to the darts thing, here's this seeding list where you're seeding, okay, let's see what the women won in the women's events and then add that and see if they won more than the men's events. Is like, are you kidding me? What sport would ever do this?
I can't think of one.
If you were going to have a money list, do they put the women in with the men and say, "Hey, look who's number 2 on the money list? It's Michelle Wie or whoever." I don't follow women's golf anymore, but you know what I mean? Because she's won more on the women's event than this guy's won on the men's event. So therefore, she should be number 1 in the. Where do you get?
There's a
how far do you go with
that? There's a differential in the money though too, because the money is way higher for the men.
Try tennis then.
Right.
Where tennis, the money is kind of equal. Are you going to say that, Serena Williams is better than Novak Djokovic because she won more money in the women's events than Novak Djokovic won in the men's events where he had to play Rafael Nadal and Big Stan Wawrinka and Roger Federer and Tim Murray. Is it Tim? Whatever, the British guy. Andy Murray. And whoever else.
And she got to play the 20th seed of the tournament to win the French Open.
She got to play a bunch of stiffs until she beat the blonde European that I can't pronounce her name. Well,
that wasn't even ranked. Ranked 20th or something.
I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous. So when I saw this list, I was like, somebody has completely and utterly lost their mind. And I think if you honestly ask Callan or Robin about this, they'd be kind of shaking their heads and they'd be like, well, they shouldn't have done that. They wouldn't go on for 5 minutes about how stupid it is, but they'd probably say, it's probably not a great idea. I understand.
I'm trying to figure out why they did it. I mean, they are
play devil's advocate and give me one good reason why that should be.
They are playing in these events.
Yes.
Okay.
And they actually
are successful.
Did we mention last week they did win some matches?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And they are successful, and they're very good dart players. But I can't think of the point, a reason why they would be.
Rack your brains. Give me one good reason why this isn't the biggest joke you've seen since that Pixar movie what's the movie that just came out? It's like the stupidest premise of a movie I've ever seen, where the video games come and start attacking people.
Yeah,
so you got little Pac-Man
earlier too, and I can't remember what it is now.
It's like Pixar. It's
got Adam Sandler
or Pixels.
Pixels. Yeah.
Right. Oh, it's got Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
must be
that's
good.
Adam Sandler's in it. It's going to be like his best movie in the last 10 years.
He must have needed to upgrade his beachfront property or something to do this thing. I mean, look, I mean, it's so stupid, I can't even describe it. Right? I mean, honestly, how many people even know how to play Centipede anymore?
My only question would be, where would you put them? Are they not ranked at all?
Well, based on what money they won in the first 2 events, they might be ranked somewhere. I don't know. They got somebody up there, they're ranked with $200. So, I mean, I just don't see why they're
top 5.
How can you put women's events and say that they're equal to men's events and then have these people together where we're not playing the same events?
Yeah, I think you got to take because they obviously play in men's events, which actually aren't men's events.
Well, they're doing it now, but the money that they've won on this list isn't from men's events.
It wouldn't be just called a men's event because if Robin and Kelly are playing in it, but if it was
it's an open
event,
right?
You would only take open events for the seating.
But they haven't done that,
right?
Because they're NAPTA sanctioned events and they're separate. So, some of the money that I must have there is from, I don't know, the pro singles in Nashville last year, something like that. Well, they had a women's pro singles.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Maybe I'd have done better in that one. I don't know.
Yeah, your hair's long enough. You could have snuck in there.
Man.
If you wouldn't have had the playoff beard going, you might have been able to do it.
Oh, that may not last beyond the weekend, the way it's looking. Any updates on the hockey game?
1-1 at the end of 2.
At the end of 2, okay. I just thought it was dumb, and I didn't see it until right before the show, and I'm like, why on earth, or what possible justification could there be for doing
I would like
this?
to know that.
I
Yeah.
can't think of one. I can't think of one good reason why this is done this way. So before I reach out to whoever's in there doing this, I'm asking you: can you play devil's advocate and come up with
I would love to. I would love to.
Is there any good reason that should be like that?
No.
Okay, so we're agreed that this is like about a silly
advocate thing for this, but it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Like, why don't we rate? It's like Indy and NASCAR.
Because if
why don't we
that's the
just lump them all together?
If that's the case, what happens if like Betty Cunningham wants to play in this event? Do you all of a sudden take all the stuff she's done and she'll be ranked 24th?
I don't know.
Why not?
This is the problem. There was an issue. I talked to Robin and Callie when I was in Miamisburg, not this last weekend, but the weekend before for the inaugural challenge. No, not challenge. Championship Dart Circuit, which I assume is what this is for. Yeah, Championship Dart Circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, look, it's a new endeavor, and you got to get things going and stuff. They had an issue playing an ADO regional where there weren't any women, so either Callan or Robbie, it was probably Callie, was going to play with the men.
I think you just said Callan or Robbie.
Callan or Robbie?
Yeah.
Wow.
Instead of Callie or Robin. But anyway. You
Can
corrected
we make
yourself.
anything out of that? Because we can't do like Benefer with them.
Callan
We
Robbie.
can't, Anyway, so they went to like whoever's in charge of their area of the ADO, and he basically said, well, the guys can vote on it, and if they vote that you can play, then you can play. And I'm like, well, that's about as dumb a thing as I can imagine. If you're an organization, you have rules, and then you go by whatever rules you have. You don't be like, you know what, you guys vote on it, and you let us know.
So it's going to be FIFA. You just give the guy some money under the table, and all of a sudden you'll get voted in.
I mean, part of the problem with having professional darts in America is that the organizations have to be professional about what they do. Is this professional to you?
Doesn't look like it to me, no.
What possible rationale could you have for doing something this ridiculous?
Right.
And then tell everybody, well, we're a professional organization.
Well, like you pointed out, if your name's
on
on the list, it can't be done professionally, right?
Well, my name should, I should be like seated 50th. I don't know. The way I'm playing.
I know, but I agree with what you're
saying. I'm not the
saying.
only guy who's not doing it lately.
Yeah.
I'm not going to single anybody out, but good luck everybody going to France for World Stage 3. I could think of somebody that's, I don't know, hasn't been out of the round on 4 continents this year, I think. 1, 2, 3. I mean, it's hard to sustain a high level of play when you can't put the time in. So, I feel for these guys, but
I agree with you. It doesn't. I would like to know their reasoning behind their seeding process.
I mean, if you look at the PDC, like we're gonna in the next segment we'll preview the Bwin World Cup of Darts. Darren Butler.
And
I'm having a night. This is what happens when you're distracted doing a show.
Darren Butler and Larry Young.
Yeah, Larry Young and Darren Butler are going to be playing the doubles, and I asked Darren when I was in Miamisburg. Did I mention this last week?
I don't believe so.
Yeah. Well, I made a point of talking to Darren because I figured he wouldn't have time to come on the show because he's going to be traveling. They're going to be in Germany tomorrow for the World Cup of Darts, which I still wonder. By the way, congrats to the USMNT. They beat Germany in a friendly today.
Oh, nice.
Shocking. Germany just looked like they didn't really care, but I'm pretty sure they didn't like losing.
And they beat the Netherlands, and then they beat Germany?
They beat the Dutch, and they were down 3-1. They won 4-3.
I saw that.
So it's a feel-good week for American soccer. So good luck, because we're not going anywhere with Michael Bradley. So I talked to Darren about how they did the selection for the team. And basically, he's like, well, the PDC called Jay Tomlinson, and Jay Tomlinson was like, well, Darren, and he talked to Darren. He's like, well, I figured you'd want to play with Larry again, so I told him Darren and Larry, and Darren's like, oh, I didn't know I even had a choice, but okay, fine. and off they
Right.
go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least, the PDC is picking guys, based on prior performance, based on their prior production in the PDC, because no one's on the tour anymore. There's no Americans with PDC tour cards and stuff like that. So it's nice that they want to represent us when they don't even have to. I mean, they could have literally left America out of this and, fine. I mean, it's a missed opportunity for America. We could have had a one-day tournament, top 2 guys go or something.
Sure.
But,
Right.
hey, Darren and Leary will do fine. I don't have any problem with that. I'm to the point where, all these opportunities for darts, I'm just shaking my head. It's like, oh, yeah, now there's opportunities when I can't hit anything. Where were you guys 5 years ago when I was playing good?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break, and then we're going to preview the World Cup of Darts. You listen to Dart Talk. Mystery Mark, Steve Ponce. Keep the updates coming, and we'll be right back.
Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Okay, back for the third quarter
It is.
of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Stay in the zone. What are we talking about? Okay, the World Cup of Darts is the 2-man
Where's our sponsor?
international team.
Is he like in a week-long funk? Because
in mourning for the Rangers?
yeah,
I don't
I
know.
haven't seen him in a while.
Did they get no hit last night? He's a Mets fan too.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Maybe he is. Yeah, he's on suicide watch.
I don't know. The Mets. I don't think anybody expected them to win that division. They started out really good. They won 10 in a row
How
at
come
home.
San
but
Francisco's the only guys that can throw pitchers out there that throw no hitters? So
Dave Righetti.
this guy was just
It's
14th
Dave
career
Righetti
start.
magic dust. It's Dave Righetti magic dust because
Anyway, yeah.
who on that team hasn't thrown a no
I
hitter?
know.
I mean, my God. And Rags was a heck of a player. I used to like watching him
Oh, yeah.
pitch back in the day. Him and Eckersley were like the two starters that became really dominant relievers. Kind of almost started a trend. Okay, so anyway, let's run down the first round matches. It's going to start tomorrow, but the first round is going to take Thursday and Friday, and I believe the Americans are playing on Friday.
You
if I'm not
believe
mistaken.
correctly, yes.
In Germany,
Thursday, June 11th, Spain against Norway.
Norway has absolutely zero chance of winning.
Okay. Japan against China.
Yeah, I don't know. I was looking at the Chinese team, and Japan's much more seasoned.
They're the 16th seed, so
Well, And again, some of the seeding is kind of like, well, this guy they have one guy who's got a tour card, so that takes precedence. So, this is going to come down to like the top 8 seeds anyway. So in theory, I mean, I think almost everyone's going to be betting chalk in the first round. So, yeah, Japan's done well in this event though, and I think they'll get by China.
Austria against the Czech Republic.
Yeah, that one I don't know, but I'll take Austria.
Stay with the chalk.
What are they?
They're
8
the
seed?
Yeah, they're in
They're
the
the 8
seed.
seed. Yeah.
If it's coming down to the top 8 seed, you can't all of a sudden say you're not going to take Austria.
Yeah, I can't see the seeds from here though.
Gibraltar is against Italy.
Yeah, Gibraltar against Italy. Do you know any good Italian darters?
No.
I don't think they have any like on the PDC or anything like that. So I don't know.
I don't know if I know any Italian darters.
Okay. Well, I'm sure I know some darters
sure
of Italian
right.
descent.
Belgium against the Philippines.
Now that's interesting. Belgium has some guys that have done a little damage on the tour, but the Philippines have great players. I mean, there's a country that produces a lot of good dart players for its size. So
Belgium's a 5 seed. That would be quite the upset.
yeah, that would be. I don't know.
England against Denmark.
Next.
Germany against India.
Yeah, that's interesting. Germany got a pretty good draw in the first round there, and since they're at home, you would think that they'd get some local support there. So yeah, I'd take Germany there, and Australia
against Russia.
I just remember the first Russian team they threw out there. It was Anastasia Dombrovoslova and some guy that looked like he bought his darts in the lobby, and she had to tell him what to throw at, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Good luck.
Well, they did better the year after that, but I don't think they're quite deep enough to win that one. So what did we do? All seeds, or did I pick the Philippines?
Well, you're
Sarah?
thinking maybe the Philippines. You didn't really decide. But
okay.
it would be a nice upset if you picked it
But,
correctly.
that's one of the matches that of the first day that I would be very curious. The Japan match, I'd be very curious to see how they play. I'd be very curious to see how the Philippines play. And then
so your dark horses are China and the Philippines to get out of that round.
Yeah, okay. Dark horses. I mean, I don't know how dark. Chocolate? Okay. Let's go on to day 2 when the Americans are playing. That's the one we really care about.
You start with Canada against New Zealand.
Yeah, now New Zealand has struggled in this event, and Canada's bringing John Part and Kenny McNeil. I don't know what kind of shape Kenny McNeil's in. John played some quality darts in Ohio a couple weeks ago, so I would have to say that he's in fighting form, or however you want to say.
Canada's the 11th seed. Then you got Sweden.
I like them there.
Sweden against Hungary.
Okay, so that's what. Who plays for Sweden is Magnus Karas.
I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, they're going to be heavily favored. Sweden will.
Even as a 15th seed, they'll be heavily favored.
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah. Wales against Hong Kong.
Now that's interesting. That's Paul. I think that's Paul Lim and his son against what's his the guy I don't like, the lefty. Webster and Richie Burnett. And they're actually a really good team. They've played together a lot. So that's going to be one well worth watching. Is because they won last year, Paul and his kid. I think they won 2 rounds last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to count Paul Lim out of anything.
Yeah. Well, again, some of these guys, they're getting up there. I mean, Paul wears one of those like Tommy Copperfit sleeves, and I'm thinking maybe when I'm 60, I'll need that just to keep my elbow in place. So
At the rate you're going, you'll be lucky to still be throwing when you're 60.
Yeah, he's getting up there in years, and he's traveling. I don't know. That's a pretty long flight, Hong Kong to Germany. So, yeah,
all right.
That's going to be well worth watching. That match.
You got the Republic of Ireland versus Poland.
Yeah, I think Ireland's should be heavily favored in that one. These first round matches are almost like exhibitions. I mean, I don't think anybody. There's a couple of countries that, and we're one of them that have a legitimate chance of maybe ruining someone's
Throwing an
weekend.
upset out there. Yeah.
But I don't really for the most part, I think everybody's just going to be and again,
You'd be shocked if like
the players
8 of the unseeded teams won.
Well,
I can see 1 or 2.
Yeah, I could see somebody running into a hot shooter they've never seen before, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be losing
Who is
here.
this guy?
And you pile a little pressure on yourself, and all of a sudden things don't go in. I could see that happening.
Northern Ireland against Thailand.
Yeah, okay. I don't know about that one. I have a hard time thinking Northern Ireland's going to lose. Even Brendan Dolan kind of needs a second there, but I think they'll be all right.
And then you got Scotland against Singapore. Scotland's the number 2 seed.
Maybe Paul's playing for Singapore.
Oh.
Who's playing for Singapore? Who's playing Singapore?
Scotland.
Scotland.
The number 2 seed.
Okay. That's like Gary Anderson and whoever. Peter Wright or Robert Thornton.
Oh, really?
I haven't looked to see who's rated higher. I think Peter Wright is still ahead of him. But, I mean, again, they're going to be heavily favored.
Yeah,
Scotland will be heavily
right.
favored.
Well, yeah, the 2 seed. The Netherlands, the 3 seed, plays us, the United States of America.
Yeah, what's funny?
Who's the Netherlands got? We mentioned this the other week, I believe.
They got Van Gerwen and Van Varneveld.
Yeah,
they got the
right.
Vans. I don't know. I asked Darren, I'm like, and I'm trying to be like Johnny Journalist, right? And I'm like, so Darren, do you feel like, maybe that it was an unfortunate draw, or do you view this as an opportunity? And Darren's like, oh, I definitely view it as an opportunity. And it's like, of course it is.
Yeah.
Here's a chance
Sure.
to take down the 2, basically biggest guys in darts right now, right? You're going to take down Van Gerwen and Barney, right? How many world championships they got between them? I mean, it's going to take, I would think it's going to take maximum effort from both Darren and Larry, but if you remember the matches last year, it wasn't like guys shooting 115, but it got to the point where, we had a whack at a double, and if we hit the double, we win.
That. Yeah.
Like, you're going to have one shot at the double, and if you hit it, maybe you can win. If you miss it, you're likely
Was
doomed.
this the same tournament last year when we were talking, because you get to do
this
the rotation?
This was the one where
Who
at
goes
the end of
first?
the
Who goes first? You choose
Yeah,
who's going first, and we kind of debated why they
but
chose.
what I remember is after the match, it was like the 2 guys on the other team kind of both took Darren and started talking to him and started walking him off the stage, and Larry was kind of left alone on the side, right? And I was watching, and this is weird, because I do watch like kind of political stuff on telly and stuff, and people will sit there and argue about body position, and this guy, oh look, he had his back to this guy and ignored this guy, and like it's like a huge deal with national implications, right? And it was kind of like the same thing. So I'm gonna kind of watch that and make sure, because I remember after that, like, it was Webster and I think Richie Burnett, and they tried to do the same thing, and Webster was like, no, you're walking off with me, let's go. So
Nice.
I some sort of gamesmanship, I guess. I don't know.
Then your last match would be South Africa against Finland.
Yeah, South Africa, if they have Devin Peterson, then he'll get a lot of crowd support. He's the one who does the dance.
Oh, really? All right.
I don't know what it is.
I don't either.
Just,
I have
he
no
he goofs around on stage, and he tends to play his best game, in front of the lights, and so he's what do they call it, a red light performer,
Okay.
right? It was
It's the first time I've ever
when
heard
the
that.
camera's got a red light,
Yeah.
that means that's the active camera, and then when the camera's on, they shine.
They show up.
All right, so run down. Okay, so we ran down the first round matches. There's a couple of good ones, but when push comes to shove, give me the 4 teams that you really think are going to make it all the way through to the last 4.
Well, I would say the Netherlands, unfortunately for us.
Well, okay.
Scotland. See, I'm gonna be.
You're going to go. Yeah, the Netherlands, Scotland, England, and what? Who's your 4th? Who's the 2 seed?
Scotland.
And who's the 4 seed?
Australia.
I would say no to Australia. I would say, because if it's going to be, is it going to be like Whitlock and
Who's on the Wales team?
The Wales team is, I think, Mark Webster and Richie Burnett. They do well in this thing. They play well together. And you know, Richie Burnett is the darting equivalent of a gamer, right? Of all the darters I've ever seen on TV, him and Kevin Painter are the two that I would say are total gamers. You know, and in an event like this where it's a kind of an unfamiliar, weird kind of thing where you might actually have to play doubles, I like gamers.
Yeah.
In a situation like that, yeah. So
I don't know. Do you think Canada's got a chance?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Ken McNeil play in a long time. That's the only thing I don't know
They play
about.
the winner of the Northern Ireland Thailand match.
Oh, well, that's a good draw for Canada.
Right. That's what I'm looking at.
Okay, so then
if they can get past New Zealand, which they should.
But they have to beat the 4 seed to get into the top 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I would say Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's go Canada. Go chalk 1, 2, 3 in Canada.
Canada.
And we can root for the Canadians. Yeah. Oh, Canada.
And, you know, hopefully the United States blows up our bracket. That's all I can say.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So we have a rooting interest in destroying ourselves.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, we'll take
way past the break.
Are we really?
No,
okay,
not really.
we'll take a
7
quick
minutes.
break, and we will come back and wrap it up. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark Steve Panosielmo. We'll be right back.
You are now and forevermore warned that you consume this show at your own risk, and that Dart Talk cannot be brought to justice in any court or by any government, including and not restricted to the grand spaghetti monster of the Triple 20.
Hey, back for the fourth quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Thanks in the chat room for the update.
A good one this time.
Immediately in a better mood.
A good one, yeah.
I really love this team, and you know, I follow them closely. I mean, I kind of like know everybody's name and number and all that stuff. So it's just been rough. It's been a rough playoff run.
Well, it's fun though. I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah, the world stage, we want to wish everybody happy, safe travels going to France for the Darts Live World Stage 3. And also, they're going to have a World Stage 4 in Canada. You know, actually spent 5 minutes on Facebook before the show, saw Jeff Smith signed up for it. But that'll be interesting. You know,
You spent 5 minutes on Facebook.
I had to post
Wow.
links to the show and stuff. I mean, I'll have to start getting on there eventually. Oh, and a happy anniversary to Jeff Dodson,
Yes.
our musical director.
That was going to
I
be the
saw
last
that,
shout out if you didn't bring it
okay.
up, but I had it written down.
I just thought of
Happy
it.
anniversary, Jeff.
27 years.
Nice.
I've never done anything.
The hell is wrong
I've
with
only
you?
done one thing for 27 years.
Live.
Well, no, I mean I've always managed to like
Grow your hair.
I've always managed to breathe. Yeah, I've always managed to at least keep my hand into playing guitar. I mean, I don't play every day or anything, but I mean, from the age of like I don't know, how old are you in fourth grade, generally?
It's a good question. What?
10? 9 or 10?
Yeah.
From the age of 9 or 10, I've always at least fiddled around and played for fun. You know, had a band for a while. When I was 19, that was fun. Okay, so I wanted to talk about participation. It's a constant source of annoyance to people that are trying to run dart tournaments. They don't really seem to get participation. So I just happened to be listening to something on the radio where it turns out that Little League baseball participation is way down.
All right.
So it's not just darts. And if you look at how...
Did they say why?
Well, there's a number of factors. And I don't know. It's not like these were scientists talking about it. So, I mean, you got to take it with, a couple of salt shakers. But one of the things is like, look, the Chicago teams have stunk for a few years now. So little kids aren't inspired to play baseball.
They're playing different sports.
Right. I mean, if you look at the the women's World Cup soccer matches have begun.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll tell you, I watched a couple. I like our girls did not look good.
I know. I saw
They look
bits and
terrible.
pieces of it, but what I read was, and they won 3-1, and it was like, if they play like this, they're going nowhere. But I didn't watch enough of it to.
But I mean, and I was trying to explain to Jill what to look for when you watch soccer. I mean, I'm not an expert by any means on soccer, but I did play it in high school in Indiana, where it's like football in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So I got exposed to it a little bit, and I have modicum of skills. And I'm like, well, just look at the first touch. If you look at a great soccer player, when the ball comes to them, it's immediately on their feet like they have Velcro.
Right.
And if you
I
look
would
at the
agree with
American
that.
girls, they get the ball, and all of a sudden it's 2 feet from them, and they got to scurry over and get it. That doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the American men, they do the same thing, and that's why they can't win. Right? So I don't know what Germany was thinking today. So anyway, the American women were dominant for maybe a decade, I want to say, like all through the 90s. Like they were winning World Cups. They had they had Mia Hamm, and they had little girls dying to go see the American women play. And now if you look at women or girls or whatever, ladies soccer participation, it's way up.
Right.
I mean, people are racking their brains. How do we get more people to tournaments and stuff? They need something to be able to watch.
Yes.
Right? And that's, kind of bookend the show with this like $2,000 buy-in. One of the notions is that somehow, because all the players are paying $2,000 to get in, that somehow it's going to be more compelling.
Well, you could spin it that way. If you're
would that work on you?
It
Would
might
that work on
on
an audience of any sophistication whatsoever?
Well, it might work on people. If you're talking about your little girls want to play soccer after watching the Women's World Cup because they finally are successful and they don't know anything about it, but you're on TV and you're spinning it on how good Mia Hamm is. If you can spin it how good these people are and it's compelling, you might get a bunch of people interested. I could see that.
Okay.
That's the whole point, right?
Well,
being able to spin it to the fact of why this is so compelling and.
What's the old saying? If you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with something else.
How did the World Series of Poker get so popular?
Because nobody won. And it became a giant mooch hunt. And it became like, look, anybody can win this thing. And it all became
and then
like,
everybody entered?
Yeah. I mean, basically, the first couple ones they had, it was only, 50 people, 20 people. I mean, it grew from there. But, I mean, it just got to the point now where it's just like a giant mooch hunt. Where you got, like, Jennifer Tilly playing. Oh, anybody can be a poker pro. Look, and it's just silly. I mean, some people enjoy watching it, but I think the ratings are down. I think they're going to do less and less.
Well, I think they
already had to change the final table. And so
I know.
They
I
could
think
try
they
to promote
spiked
it
5 years ago, but now it's changed. But from a dart aspect, I mean, somehow they got it popular.
I don't know that they got it popular. I think what happened was
they got a lot of people all of a sudden starting their own leagues and playing it. And
but there's always been poker. People have always played poker.
Yeah, but
there's been poker playing in America for 100 years. It's
been
nothing
darts
new
in America for that long too.
Well, no, actually, darts in America is kind of newer. From my understanding, it was kind of like guys that went to World War II and were like kind of on bases with like British guys and stuff like that. That's how they got introduced to darts, and they brought it back. So if you're going to agree with that, then darts is only, post-war baby boom stuff. Okay. It only goes back that far. So as far as like getting participation, one guy's asking, would you come? This is one of our listeners in Brazil, because the PDC goes about participation in a different way. What they'll do is they will put on an event and say, come and watch. Right?
Sure.
So they're doing one, they're doing a few in Australia. They did one in New Zealand. And Nathan is like, hey, do you think that would work here? If they put one on in America, would people come and watch? And I'm like thinking,
no, I don't think so.
If you had it at the Mohegan Sun, how many Minutemen Dart League players would go there and watch? I don't think that many. I think the problem that we have is the players aren't really good fans.
Right.
Especially once you're knocked out of a tournament. Mm-hmm. Like, I got knocked out in the second round Sunday in Miamisburg, and instead of sitting around and waiting, I was like, I got like a 6-hour drive. I may as well, hit it. Right? So I didn't see the last couple of matches.
Right.
And it's like, well, everybody's like that on Sunday, but what about Saturday? What's your excuse Saturday for not, watching everything? Oh, I don't want to see these guys. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the point is though that the dart players themselves, in order to grow the sport, the dart players themselves aren't supposed to be the fans. You need fans.
Yeah, you need fans.
You can't. I mean, yes, granted, you would be nice for everybody to stick around for as long as they possibly could to watch their fellow compatriots play. But really, the bottom line is you need.
So the notion somehow that because everybody's paying $2,000 as an entry fee, that's going to make it more compelling. Are you buying into that? Would you go and see that, or would you rather go? If you had a choice between seeing that, like 16 Americans who put in $2,000 playing for it, or seeing Michael Van Gerwen, Van Barneveld, Phil Taylor, and all the PDC guys come and play 16 Americans. What would you rather see?
Well, I guess I'd rather see that, but if you're talking about novice people that don't know really who Van Gerwen, Phil Taylor, and those people are, and you're trying to spin this big thing, we got a bunch of money, and all these people are putting all their money, and it's winner take all, and come see this event that's this once in a lifetime event. I think you could spin that better than trying to just go to the masses and go, do you know who these people are? Come watch and play.
Well, again, if you can't put on, I mean, the American soccer women were the best in the world, right? I don't know that anyone's arguing that Americans are the best players in the world. I mean, some guys try to argue that they're the best soft tip players in the world, and I'm like, that's because nobody bothers with it, dude. Mm-hmm. If the PDC guys wanted to play soft tip, they would bury you, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
I don't think the PDC guys would disagree with me on that. People who only play electronic look at it differently. So, okay, fine. So if you're not going to put on the best players in the world, then you want to put on the most compelling matches in the world, right? I mean, in Europe, soccer is number one, what they call football.
Yes, of course.
That gets the most ratings and everything, right? People still go out to see the 8th place team play the 6th place team, right? People still root for their teams.
Absolutely.
I'm a Bears fan. And I gripe about how they run the team and how you have an all-pro at one position, so the first thing they want to do is move them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they still pack the place. But
yeah, well, Yeah, but I mean, it's TV revenue that is what the income is. It's not the gate,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
So what am I saying? What am I talking about here?
Well, I mean,
I'm looking for an update, and I lost my train of thought.
oh,
I'm very distracted tonight. So what I'm saying basically is like, since you can't put on the very best players, put on the most compelling matches. Now, how do you determine
well,
in
how
advance?
do you make it compelling?
Well, one is you see the thing, right? And two,
But how do you make it compelling to fans that really don't know what's going on?
that's where your favorite movie comes in, right? Or one of your favorite
One of
movies.
my favorite movies.
If you watch The Natural,
Yeah.
and the character Robert Duvall plays,
Sure.
it's us. We're the ones who are supposed to be generating, enthusiasm,
Yes.
and stuff like that,
Right.
right? The sports writer back in the day before radio and television was the fans linked to the game, and how they interpreted and what they decided to say and not say had a great effect on how people followed the game, right? So we don't have national media covering darts
True.
because there's not really any national media anyway, for sports. I mean, ESPN national media? ESPN they cover the stuff that they're going to show, right? And everything else can, they showing you cricket highlights anymore? They tried that for a month. Okay, we're done with that now.
Well, no, because
We'll sell it online, but we're
they
not
did
going to
a month
bother
ago,
you with
but
cricket
it was
highlights
the
now.
major cricket
that-
championship.
Oh,
And
is
then
that what
it's
it
over.
was?
Yeah. Right. So it made ESPN.
But I mean, you have to cover the season, right? You can't just cover the Super Bowl and expect to get football fans.
Right.
You'll just get Super Bowl fans.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Right. So, I don't know. You guys can email your comments on this to darttalk@gmail.com. You can also find us on iTunes, find us on tunein.com, on stitcher.com. You can find our website, darttalk.us, and we have a YouTube live channel, Dart Talk US.
Sweet.
Have at it. I'm going on 5 years.
Yeah.
The end of the month. I will have been doing this show for 5 years. I give all the credit to Jill because, believe me, I wouldn't have been here tonight if she wouldn't have been like, go do the show.
Right.
Go do the show. Hopefully it's not so, So anyway, we're going to catch the hockey game. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll Dart Talk to you next week. Everybody take care.